Hello guys, and welcome back to some Frosti-Town. Today we're gonna be making something like this. Alright, I already made this, so I recorded a video. So we're gonna play that video and we are going to see what I did. So first things first, we turn on the regulars, and the next thing we do is I was thinking about doing something different. So I take these edges and then I press Control B and then I bevel them. Here I'm playing around with the bevels, thinking what I should be doing. So I kind of like this one, so I delete this face and I scaled on the x-axis to right about there. Right, the next thing that I was thinking about doing was making a wireframe, so I scaled that down and to right about there, and I bring it backwards, and then I have to bring it along the y-axis. Here I'm bringing it towards the x-axis, and now I'm gonna bring it towards the y-axis to right about there. Here I'm aligning it to right about here. Alright, the next thing now I'm thinking is to add a solidify. So I'm thinking about subdividing this and adding a wireframe on it to, that's too much, about 35. And the next thing I do is I go into modifiers tab and I add a wireframe to it, and then I apply that. Then I go back and I'm thinking about putting a solidify mode on it. So here I do a solidify, do some solidify on it, apply that, and the next thing I do is I take the wireframe and I scale it down so that it fits the cube. Alright, next thing, what did I do next thing? Alright, here am I thinking now, I'm scaling on the x-axis and I'm bringing it right about there. Alright, now the next thing that I'm thinking about is now to subdivide these phases. So first thing I do is just try to subdivide this, and here I'm thinking, maybe I should not subdivide this, maybe I should add a loop cut. So the next thing I do is I add a loop cut, and I add two loop cuts, and then what I try to do is I select this face and I go into inset and I go into individual, and then I inset it inwards and bring it inwards, and then I inset this too and I bring it inwards, extrude it inwards. Alright, now the next thing that I was thinking, it was to add a emission on it. So I select emission, I keep the strength to 35, assign that, and keep the color a little bit of bluish. Alright, the next thing that I try to do is I inset this part of the face, extrude inwards. Here is where our insert is gonna go from KitOps. So I go back into KitOps and here I select my insert. Now I'm thinking what to do. I select this bonus disk cut, so I select it and I insert it inside, and I readjust the size to my liking, and I'm adjusting and right about there. Okay, now that I'm satisfied with it, I should be selecting all of this, and well, maybe I should do that. I could have selected could have converted to mesh and mirrored it on the other side by hard ops, but I was too stupid to do that. So the next thing I will be doing is going to face select and inset this guy inwards, just right about there, and over here we're gonna add some inserts. So we're gonna add a great dinosaur, maybe a dinosaur. Yeah, we're gonna add a dinosaur. Here's where it gets a bit laggy because it's a really dense insert. So I'm gonna forward this a little bit. So I'm trying to add these inserts. So I add one, I add another one over here, and then I add a third one. I make it small because I wanted it small. I was trying to give it a little bit of vent like feeling. So after that I move on, and I'm checking about the align, how to align these inserts, and I'm just figuring out the KitOps came up with a new addition. It's super fast, it's super easy. So here am I checking this out. Alright, now what I do is I convert everything to mesh. Now notice when you convert everything to mesh, you can easily tamper around with the inserts. You can change their positions and everything. And here I am sipping a cup of tea, and then I'm back. Okay, now that I'm back, I'm checking the cavity is turned on, and now I'm thinking what to do next. I'm thinking about going back into face select mode. Oh, I'm sipping tea again, and I'm back. Okay, so the next thing I'm checking out, make sure you check your models from all angles because it's very necessary for you to get a clear view on what you are doing right now. So here I am checking everything out. Everything looks nice. Alright, now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into face select mode, and here I'm selecting these faces. I want them to extrude out and look, you know, like there's a insert inside it. And then I bevel this, and then I go to the left side and I select these parts. Now here's where it gets tricky. There are certain edges that I didn't select, so I select these edges and I extrude this outwards, and then I try to bevel it. So I extrude this outwards, I look over here, and then I extrude it outwards again to right about there, and then I try to bevel it, but the bevel won't work because there's so many edges, and when I delete these edges, you know, the geometry kind of collapses. So here I am trying to figure out what to do. So see, the geometry crashes, the geometry gets destroyed. So what I do is I leave these edges and I move on, and I don't bevel it. I just see, when I bevel it, everything goes to rust. So I try to bevel it a little bit, and still there is a chance of artifacts on it. So then I move towards this face. Now notice that this is a complete face. It on the x-axis it ranges to the end. So when I extrude it, the whole face comes out. Now I only want the selected faces. I don't want this part. I only want this part. So I hide that, and I go here and I add a loop cut. So I add a loop cut, I unhide it, and I go into X-ray mode. I add a loop cut to right about there. Now I have the phases that I need to extrude out. So I select these phases holding shift, and after selecting these phases I press right click and I extrude phase along normals. Here I'm thinking inwards or outwards, and I like it. I like outwards. Inwards, when you extrude it inwards, it kind of feels, or maybe inwards as in right outside, and out inwards as in, sorry, inside. I'm stuttering, I'm sorry. So here I'm messing around, and it's very good to mess around with the geometry. You get new ideas. So I kind of like this. I kind of like this feeling. So here I'm messing around with the geometry again, thinking maybe if I get something out of it. And I subdivide this, and I'm thinking about some panels. So I select this guy and I inset it, and then I extrude it out. So we have something like this. I do the same thing over here. So we have our panels right about there. So I do the same thing over here, and over here. So we have our panels. Alright, now the next thing, now I'm checking out my geometry. Now the next thing I am trying to do is I am trying to figure out which insert should I add. So I add a pipe and I auto smooth it, and I'm seeing how much space is left, so I add another pipe, scratch that. I'm trying to figure out which insert will go next. So let's see what insert did I do. Okay, I did a MA cutters medium, so I think that's right about it. Next thing what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna convert it to mesh, probably. Yes. So when you convert it to mesh, turn on cavity. When you convert it to mesh, you can press Alt X and you can mirror it on the left side, so you have the same inserts on the left side. So I hide the inserts by pressing the I key. Here I am sipping the tea again, waiting. And the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go into edit mode, no, go back, and I'm gonna select these guys and I'm gonna create a floor. So I'm gonna bring this up, maybe insert it inwards, yeah, and after insert it inwards I extrude it downwards. Alright, the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create a plane. So I create a plane and I match it to the width of our the floor that we created, and after managing it I add a wireframe modifier on it. Now the first thing I'm going to do is going to align it to right about there. Now the next thing we're going to do is we are going to edit it and we're going to subdivide it by 30, I think, yeah, 35. Okay, and we're going to add a wireframe modifier. I'm going to apply that, and we're going to duplicate this guy, Shift D, and we're gonna bring it towards the other floor that we extruded downwards. Alright, and we're gonna select the phases of the floors and we're gonna add a emission shader, and we're gonna unhide this. Alright, the next thing what we're gonna do is we're gonna select these guys. Let me roll that back. We are going to do is, what am I doing? Yeah, so what I did was I went towards the phases over here that I extruded it, so then I clicked the outer phases and extruded them outwards. Now what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to press Alt X and I'm trying to, yeah, there we go. It messes up sometimes a little bit. So next thing I'm thinking about inserts. I think I'm right. I'm thinking about inserts over here. So I'm thinking about putting an insert on the bottom right, on the bottom left. So here I'm thinking. So I select a MA cutter simple right over here on my cursor. You can see that, and I'm pretty happy with this one. So here am I doing a mistake. I'm not converting it to mesh and expecting that it would be mirrored, so because I'm stupid. So the next thing I'm doing is I'm thinking, maybe sipping a cup of tea, and I am going to convert it to mesh, and now voila, it's done. Alright, now the next thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna think about subdividing it, but it won't subdivide for some reason, because I think I've added too many subdivisions or something like that. So what I'm thinking is I'm thinking about adding some inserts, some nice panels on the right side. Here I am adjusting the emission. That was a mistake. 100 is too much, so I'm gonna bring it back down, and I'm gonna bring the world settings down. So it's too bright. We might need an area light inside, so I'm gonna bring it down to 40 or maybe 30. No, 40. Okay. Alright, so I select these pipes, the inserts we did, press Alt and select all of it. If you want to select more of these rings, just press Alt and Shift. So you keep selecting these, and I select these guys to right about there, and I select these guys to right about there, and I add a emission on it. So as it is mirrored, so the emission is gonna work on both sides. Alright, so we have something like this. Alright, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna figure out which insert should go over here. So I try to put the ANI grade tool, but the next thing you know, the problem is that it's not applying correctly, because when I try to convert it to mesh and I press Alt X and I convert over there, I don't get the grade, I just get the circles. Now here I am thinking that maybe I'm doing something wrong and time is of the essence, so maybe we should add some other let me just forward that. Let's just add some other insert, and this is not working. So I go into cutters. Yeah, I went to cutters and I selected cut out ADV, and I press insert. Now the new thing with KitOps Bronson edition is that if you go into smart mode and if you click an insert and if you hold shift, you can add multiple inserts, so it's super easy. So I add these inserts and I convert to mesh, save the file, press Alt X, and I do the same thing, mirroring it. I select the light, I bring it down, set it to 50, and here I am thinking that the color should be blue. I delete that and I keep it to area light. I duplicate it and I keep it blue, and here I am. I have these I've posted these Blender material cycles several times on my videos. The link of these, I will post them again for you guys. I give it a Kevlar, and here I'm thinking about the wireframe that I did, and I select the wireframe, I give it Kevlar again, and these Blender material cycles are mostly available in the description below. I'm gonna add the description again. If you're a regular follower, you might have noticed that I always post these Blender material cycles. And here I am trying to figure out no, I'm giving them Kevlar. I'm trying to figure out the light. I think the light is okay. Alright, the next thing what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add something. Okay, I'm just figuring this stuff out. Okay, the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna add some decals, my favorite. Okay, so we select these decals, and it's pretty simple, it's pretty easy. You select a decal, you click, and you where's the decal? Okay, it's loading. So the decal comes up, it pops up, and I'm thinking maybe this is not the decal for me. So I add this one and I extrude it out and I adjust it. One of the things that are with decals is that you have to adjust the height, otherwise it will glitch, so you need to bring it a little bit above the surface. So I do the same thing over here. I add some decals over here, and I'm thinking about the panels that I created. I should add some decals over there too. So I'm gonna fast forward. This is it. This is pretty easy. Just add decals, scale them in. So here I am adding these decals, thinking which decal should go where, and I add decals over here and right about there. So the last two decals are these. So there we go. So we have our decals. Alright, the next thing that I'm thinking right about now is to make some pipes. So what I do is, oh yeah, I forgot the last insert. I wanted something like a door, like a sci-fi something, so I add the last insert to right about there, and I save the file, convert to mesh, and it takes a while to convert to mesh, and then you always save your files, So I disappear the inserts, I hide the inserts, and I'm thinking about adding the pipes, so I'm looking around for now. Alright, the next thing, it's very important again to look at your model from all angles. So here I am going to create a cableerator. It's you can buy this on Gumroad or Blender Market. So I go on draw cable and I draw the cable to right about here, and then I press S and hold shift and S to set the width of the pipe. So we have something like this, and then I edit it, and I just edit these points to make a pipe, to align the pipe in a way that I would find like the pipe should go at the entrance. This is a bit tricky part. You might have to change your view to, because the pipe is not gonna move accordingly. The pipe is gonna move in the direction that you're in. For example, I'll show you here. When I go into, so here's what I did. I moved the pipe down so that I could go into front view. This is left, this is right, and front. So I bring this up, I go into front view, and now if I grab it, it will come outside to the entrance, which I wanted. So it's kind of a tricky part. So I bring it up to right about there. Here I am figuring out, and you have to select these points to align the pipes, and I take this and I bring this down. I select this vertices and this one, and I select this guy and I bring this down, bring this up. Now pipes are my thing. If you're wondering why pipes, you add a lot of pipes. Pipes are my thing. It's like a trademark of mine. More decals, more pipes. So I do these pipe things and I do these decal things a lot. Here I am trying to duplicate it, and here I duplicate it, and I'm trying to see where I should put it so that I could change the direction of the pipe. So here I'm scaling it in, and it's not a good idea, or maybe it is. No, it isn't. Maybe it is. So I align the pipes, and here it is doing the same problem. You have to move your camera so that the pipe can move in the opposite direction, or in the direction you want to, because from where you're seeing, the pipe is not gonna move to that direction. Here's what I learned from my experience. You might have to move the camera and move your view from where you're viewing. Here I am selecting the pipe, bringing it right over here, and select this part, select this vertices and bring it right about here. Now I need to put the pipe down to right about here, and I select this guy, and I'm gonna select this one and I'm gonna bring it right about here. So we have our pipes. Now the next thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna set the camera, and when I'm gonna set the camera, I'm gonna add a empty, and I'm gonna adjust the focal length, f-stop, and when I try to render it, the file actually comes out, it crashes. It was a problem. I had to go back into system and turn on my CPU and my GPU. So in the end you get something like this. Hope you guys enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, give it a like, give it a thumbs up, comment, subscribe, share. As always, stay frosty, and Frosti-Town signing out.